Shift4 is everywhere, powering payments across the globe from stadiums to the stars. It's a company that reshaped an industry and is always reaching for new horizons. This mission is only getting started.
You're talking about a company that was founded in a basement startup that has earned the right to serve the largest restaurant brands and almost every professional sports team in America.
The company's transformed an enormous amount throughout the years. Some of the biggest changes that I've witnessed have been like the scale and global expansion of the company.
We've exceeded all of those expectations, and on every single measure, we're #1 or #2 in every single vertical we serve.
Every great mission begins with someone willing to chase the unknown.
He always had the ability to see the future.
He saw the convergence of payments and point of sale.
His vision was so far ahead. Jared broke the mold.
I actually think he has a methodology that is what drives the business.
He was always one step,
A number of steps.
100 steps ahead of everyone else.
He didn't follow the rules. He rewrote them.
When Jared offered the free equipment, the whole industry went crazy. It was a brilliant move.
So that exploded that whole business because people were like, well, I'll go get a free one.
And our numbers went through the roof. So that was definitely a defining moment. We were the first ones to come out with a free terminal program.
When the world shut down, he moved boldly forward.
The business went from about 10 million a month in profit to losing 12 million a month in cash overnight. And Jared said, we're gonna go public anyway.
To get to stand next to Jared in June of 2020 to ring that New York Stock Exchange bell, it was a really impactful and incredible experience.
But for the people who built this with him, the mission was always personal.
He's reshaped all of our lives. I mean, his patience, his time that he gives to everyone, no matter who you are, is something that's really amazing.
He was loyal to everybody. He was always fair. There was nobody that you wanted to go out of your way for more than him.
This guy's going to space. He flies a MiG, and he's fearless.
This is Shift4. And this is only the beginning.
Jared was a very bored student. The school psychologist came back to me and said, he's a trailblazer. We can't keep him here. We have nothing to give him. I made a deal with Jared that I would officially sign him out, providing he take the GED as well as the college level examination placement tests. At that point in time, he clept out of 60 college credits. So now, what do we do?
He worked for a computer store that is no longer exists, CompUSA, and he helped us with setting up email, AOL, and our computers, and that was how we first got introduced to Jared.
And Mario said, how would you like to be my IT director? And Jared said, okay.
And he basically was intrigued by the business, and he started to do sales with one of our sales managers, and he always wanted to learn more and learn more.
And in about 4 months, he came home and said, I'm going to start my own business in the basement.
The fact that we were in a house was obviously an issue for bringing business people over. You couldn't do that.
I was doing the bookkeeping and the taxes, and my husband was doing the selling because Jared was 16 and he looked 16.
I mean, Jared was doing it over the phone. There was an opportunity to actually go on an appointment, and so I would drive him, and he would look like he was a kid, but his knowledge was unquestioned. For 5 years, Jared would not answer the age issue.
Yeah, as a couple young kids in an industry that typically has an old established base, we put on a suit and pretended we were older than we actually were. And with confidence and really understanding what we were talking about, we were able to start breaking through. It was a stroke of luck, really, because we came into an industry that we had never even heard of and became intrigued about the opportunity and the technology evolution that was just starting to begin at that time.
At the beginning, we spent so much time together building the base for United Bank Card that we were going in and out of the house at all kinds of hours, making all that noise and making a mess in the basement. It really felt like a family than anything else. I would say that was our culture.
It was just a lot of long hours. All of us, I think, were working really late till like midnight or 2 a.m. I remember like Brendan sleeping under his desk. I would sleep under my desk.
At one point, we all lived together. We all worked all day together.
We were together 90% of the time. If it was not at the office, it was enjoying each other's companies or continuing to work. Work never ended.
We would be finished with the day, we'd go out to dinner together, and we were just in sync. So a problem came up after hours, we would get a phone call, we'd be like, well, we're all together. So we could solve the problem right then.
We kind of snuck up on some old stalwarts and started our path to making an impact on the industry.
And before long, we had 11 people in the basement and we had to find another place to move.
We got a commercial building within the first less than 2 years. That was the first thing that cropped up that we had to handle.
It was Friday afternoon. We closed for the day. We packed as much as we could and drove to our new office. And Jared took out the first computer that we had and set it up in what was going to be the front of the office. It was kind of like watching him put in the first stone on a foundation of something great that was to come.
With their foundation in place, it was time to make their first real move.
There's an important milestone in our history where we decided that giving away credit card terminals to a customer was a great acquisition strategy. At that time, our competitors were leasing equipment for large dollar amounts per month, and we realized that we could change that industry trajectory.
When you go to Verizon nowadays and they give you a free phone, he had that vision of a free credit card terminal back when people were charging for it. So he was more focused on, oh, I'll give you a free credit card machine, but I want your swipes, the recurring revenue that comes along with it.
He comes up with this idea. Why are we not providing our client with the technology so that they can process only through us?
And when Jared offered the free equipment, he basically disrupted the industry.
And we brought in a couple more national sales managers, and our numbers went through the roof. So that was definitely a defining moment. We were the first ones to come out with a free terminal program.
The company became a 5-time Inc. 500 honoree, growing faster than nearly anyone in the industry. But they weren't done yet.
He says, hey, D-Route, the way Jared does, hey, take a walk with me. And there he had that vision for Harbor Touch. So he's like, you see this thing here? And I was like, yeah, it's a computer. He's like, yeah. And he gave me the vision, just like he had that vision to really shake things up with the free terminal program. But there he was in another vision to move into another market in the POS world and shake things up. And I love the vision. He's like, I want you to be part of this.
Their next move was Harbor Touch, a full point-of-sale system built to redefine the future of commerce.
We started to pivot into more of an integrated payments approach. So we launched our Harbor Touch product, which is a touchscreen point-of-sale system for restaurants.
Designed with the features and capabilities you need to manage your restaurant, it's the perfect tool to help make running your business easier and more profitable. Harbor Touch Point of Sale will streamline your everyday operations and put you in control of your business.
At the time, POS systems were something that a restaurant would spend $8,000 or $10,000 on a POS system, and then they would pay an absurd fee every month for support. So Jared's like, we'll just give them the POS for free, and we'll charge them for support, but there'll be no upfront cost to the consumer.
And we use that as a tool to win business with the goal of capturing the payment processing on the back end as kind of the true revenue driver.
Jared, Sue, Brendan flew to like Computex or some kind of big computer trade show in China, and they were like, okay, here's the equipment we're going to use, here's the software we're going to put on, let's go to market.
So there's a value proposition there that couldn't be ignored because the software helped the businesses succeed by helping them run their business more efficiently. We would build online portals for the merchants with like business analytics, reporting, business intelligence, gift and loyalty modules, inventory modules, and like third-party integrations for like workforce management. So it's just, and we're all offering it all-inclusive within the base price.
Value is not just going to be a countertop terminal that does approval, decline, or refund. Value is going to come from software that helps the merchant do their jobs better. A tightly integrated payment experience where what you order is sent to the kitchen, they make exactly what you order, and you pay for exactly what you order, and there's no gaps in that process. Software is obviously a huge enabler of that.
Being the biggest part of the company over time caused us to change the name to HarborTouch. I'll take credit for the name.
When Jared founded the company as United Bankcard, he chose a name, because he was so young at the time, that sounded like a conservative bank, gave people safety and security and trust when they heard that name. When we pivoted to HarborTouch, we wanted something that sounded more techie startup feel, because at that time, those were the types of companies that were really getting people's attention. So we went with HarborTouch, which is definitely, a less conservative name at that point than United Bankcard.
HarborTouch was rapidly growing and started attracting serious attention.
2016 began for us with a really focused view on trying to find ways to invest behind a trend that we were seeing in the industry. And that trend was that payments companies and software businesses were going to converge and come together. And we were very lucky to come across what was then called HarborTouch. What was contrarian about HarborTouch then, Shift4 now, was their unfailing belief that a payments company could be the one to survive this convergence. And we believed that too.
Jared was always a number of steps ahead of the competition, and he saw the convergence of payments and point of sale really years before the rest of the industry was acknowledging that or saw that coming. So our HarborTouch product was one of the first of its kind, if not the first.
What we underwrote and expected to achieve in 5 years, the company delivered in the first year and a half. And that ability to deliver transformational change while the industry is changing around them, I can really only attribute to the uniqueness of what was then the HarborTouch culture.
All that was leading up to the next chapter, which was acquiring companies. So we started buying several companies. His vision was to grow by acquisition. Had the honor of working on that project. That was fun because my job was to integrate the workflows. So you have 2 rails and now you need to integrate that in to be able to be in the trenches and making new friends and welding 2 worlds together. That was an honor.
Once we started our journey of M&A, we quickly built a great formula for finding the best companies in our industry that would really bolster our mission.
In 2017, we acquired Restaurant Manager, PosiTouch, and Future POS, which were 3 really kind of direct competitors to HarborTouch.
By bringing the 3 of them on, I think we saw some considerable growth, yes. They didn't have to change software as long as they started processing with us.
We define our world as commerce. And when you use a word like commerce, it should evoke a hell of a lot more complexity in the minds of the person hearing it. Buying parts of the commerce chain can become very valuable. And I think, Jared recognized this long before M&A was a practice in the business.
That's why we're going to continue to have a ton of success globally, because we figured it out, and it's hard and it's complicated, especially on the card present side. And we're really good at it. We're good at it from on the M&A side, and we're good at the cross-sell on the commercial side.
It really allowed us to attack such enormous clients, and it was really transformational for the business. That time frame from 2016 to like 2019, the amount of growth that was done was really it was aggressive, and it was very cool to see.
Culminated, we did 3 in one day.
Yeah, which was pretty wild. So we did PosiTouch, Future POS, and IRN, which is Curve Pay. We did all of that October 6th. We were doing a bunch of other acquisitions. There was a short period of time we were called Lighthouse Network, because that was before we acquired Shift4, because that took longer, so we had to have this interim name in between.
We started to expand our portfolio of restaurant customers with those acquisitions. And then Jared had this vision to really tie it all together with the acquisition of a company called Shift4 Corporation, which was a payments gateway. So we actually took on the name of Shift4 when we acquired them, and we rebranded the entire company as Shift4 Payments at the time. We became more of an end-to-end commerce company that was serving a much wider range of businesses that we had previously served. So the Shift4 acquisition really expanded our presence into the hospitality space more broadly, including hotels, resorts, casinos.
When it comes to complex payments environments, Shift4 handles them with ease. Whether it's a mega resort, a sprawling golf course, or a world-class casino, we deliver a flawless commerce experience both for the guest and the business.
It's over like 400 integrations into all these different systems, right? Mainly, hotels, casinos, bars, restaurants, things like that. So using their brand to kind of catapult us.
That changed the whole face of the company because that was an actual gateway, which we did not have previously.
We were just acquiring another business. It was called Merchant Link. So it was a big gateway with tons of restaurants and hotels. It's increased our portfolio of restaurant hotels by a pretty large magnitude. A few months later, COVID hit.
Shift4 had set out some pretty incredible goals for itself for a 3-year midterm outlook at the IPO, which was, 30% plus, growth across all metrics at the time. And that probably had a great plan to it, except that plan gets blown up when the country goes into a pandemic and people are locked in their houses and they're certainly not going out for dinner. Restaurants are struggling.
Imagine all of the revenue of your business is derived from people paying at restaurants and hotels. And suddenly they're like almost regulated out of doing that overnight. So the business went from about 10 million a month in profit to losing 12 million a month in cash overnight. The decision-making during that time is what creates a phenomenal leader versus a very bad one. And Jared's decision-making was so acute and immediate.
May seem so simple, but if you go back in time, not a lot of people are using QR codes to pay at a table and eat outside on a curb. And those were innovations that happened out of sheer necessity. And so when I think about how terrifying of a time it was also some of the most innovative.
Everything had to be contactless very quickly. So it drove Shift4 as like the first company that brought a pay-at-the-table solution to the restaurant industry.
Once again, Jared was 5 steps ahead of everybody on that, and eventually, with his genius, took it public.
Most companies have to go public at about 80% peak. Then they've got to prove that they can grow from there. That's a really hard thing to do. And Jared said, we're going to go public anyway. And I'm trying to throw, stupid logistical facts at him like there's no investors. and he said, but this opportunity is so damn unique that we could actually take the company public at the worst it could possibly look. And growing from there will be like a cakewalk. And so he personally underwrote the IPO. He invested $100 million of his own money back into the company at like kind of the lowest the company could be for every foreseeable reason. And that gave the external investors the confidence to say, wait a minute, this person who founded this business 20 years ago is stepping up with a gigantic check and his own capital. How the hell would I not follow this?
It's an incredible point of pride to be able to sit here today and say, oh wow, I actually got a front row seat to watch an incredible business, incredible team, advocate for their industry, survive and thrive.
It was just the culmination of his hard work. I mean, it was a very proud moment for a father to see his son reach that level. And of course, the stock just went crazy.
Shift4 was a team built to break barriers. It was only a matter of time before Jared aimed even higher.
Well, about 6 months into my board tenure, Jared called me. I was at a photo shoot for one of my clients, and he said, I just purchased a ride on a SpaceX rocket to go to space. I want to give the seats away to 3 people that I don't know right now. I'd like to raise $200 million for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And I want to do a Super Bowl commercial to kick off this sweepstakes, if you will, to find the crew members. And I had to step away and say, wait, what? Anyone who was interested in going to space needed to go online and sign up to have a Shift4 shop. And through that, they would post how and why they wanted to go to space. So I worked closely with the Shift4 executives and Jared, of course, to pull that whole story together.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
This fall, Inspiration4 launches as the first all-civilian mission to space. And you could be on board.
Up above the world so...
Visit Inspiration4.com for your chance to go to space.
9 months later, Inspiration4 went to space. We ended up raising over $250 million upon splashdown. It was truly the most incredible experience I've ever had working with Jared, and as I said, the extended team, the crew members.
He really, really gets tremendous enjoyment out of being able to help other people. I think he feels personally very gifted and that he wants to be sure that he gives back.
Meanwhile, Shift4 was preparing to tackle a new vertical, one with millions of fans and high demands.
We signed our first deal with Allegiant Stadium, which was where the Raiders play. That's when we planted our flag in the sports space.
Working with Shift4 to create a cashless venue, which inevitably leads to shorter wait times and speed of service, we felt that was the way to really get where we needed to be.
Announcing Raiders really made the phone ring. Fast forward, we actually acquired VenueNext, and that drove like the market domination for us in the S&E world. Eventually, our biggest competitor at the time, Appetize, capitulated the business, and we ended up acquiring them. And we've been in the process of moving all of those sports venues over to our platform, which used to be VenueNext and is now called SkyTab Venue.
SkyTab Venue is an end-to-end solution offering a feature-rich ecosystem that you and your guests can stand up and cheer about.
We have a global customer that operates satellites. We started by supporting them in the United States. It's recurring payments for satellite services for high-speed internet. And they basically said, build it in Europe and other countries and we will follow you. And that was one of the catalysts or the drivers behind us making the Finaro acquisition, because we needed to be able to support big regions across the world, and Europe was one of those target areas.
Here's where we are, and here's where we're going. That's right, there's a new player on the global stage, and we're shaking up the entire unified commerce landscape. One platform, one integration, one global solution. That's how you shift forward.
To support its global expansion, Shift4 acquired Revel Systems in the US, Vectron in Europe, and both GiveX and Eigen Payments in Canada. In the UK, the acquisition of CIP established a dedicated reseller network. As Shift4 expanded its global footprint, its founders' ambitions reached even higher, culminating in a nomination to become the next leader of NASA.
Realistically, no, I didn't see any of that coming. I would say now that having spent some time working with Jared and working around the organizations that he's been part of, and now that doesn't surprise me at all. I was just once I heard that news, I just was like, oh, this is normal course of business. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but yeah, nothing surprises me anymore.
It's an extremely emotional thing to actually watch him leave the planet, literally. It's a mixed emotion of both fear, gratitude, and pride.
Jared's greatest legacy at Shift4 is instilling a culture of boldness, never resting on your laurels and striving every day to be the best that we can be.
I don't think there is a single way to look at the investment experience with Shift4 as anything other than exceeding every expectation.
He only wanted to start a company or build a business if he could be the best in the world at it. That's easy to say, but he really believes it. And everybody that works for him believes that too.
Jared will always be part of the Shift4 DNA. The culture, the approach to doing business, the decision-making and strategy, his fingerprints will be all over Shift4 indefinitely.
But the favorite moment, the favorite definitely hasn't happened yet. We manufacture success as a result of kind of the influence he's had. And we will continue to do that. So the favorite is yet to come.
From a basement startup to global commerce. And now, a new frontier. Led by the people Jared Isaacman inspired, and the purpose they carry boldly forward. Shift4's next mission starts in 3, 2, 1.